Okay, so it can look quite complicated when we have fractions involved with indices. So we're going to do a couple of harder examples of working with indices and fractions. So let's say we are given this question. We want to simplify the expression given. So let's say we have 16/25, and the question is that is raised to a power of a half, and you want to simplify it fully. Now, first of all, we're going to need the golden rule for fractions, which is indices. A to the n over m is the mth root of a to the power of n. So here, we can imagine that everything in that bracket is a. So we have the second root of the entire bracket, so 16/25, all raised to the power of 1. Now that is going to be just this, the power 1 means we keep it the same. So we just have the second root of 16/25, but that is just the square root of 16 over 25. Now, when we are working out the square root of a fraction, we can remember our rules of surds. This is the same as the square root of 16 over the square root of 25, which we should know is just going to be 4/5. Let's make it a bit harder. So they might ask you, what is, I don't know, 16/25 to the minus 1/2? Well, the only difference here is this means 1 over 16 to the power of 1, 16/25, sorry, to the power of 1/2. But we already know that 16/25 to the half is 4/5. So we have 1 over 4/5. Now, 1 over 4/5 is basically 1 divided by 4/5. But 1 is just 1 over 1. So we really have 1 over 1 divided by 4/5. But 1 over 1 divided by 4/5 is 1 over 1 times 5 over 4. Remember, when we divide by a fraction, we keep first fraction the same, we change the divide to a times, and we flip the second fraction. And then when we multiply fractions, as we are now, we times the top by the top, so 1 times 5 is 5, bottom by the bottom, 1 times 4 is 4, so our answer would be 5 over 4. So here's a question for you. Well, actually, before we do that, let's do a trickier one. Let's say we are given, let's say we are given 20, let's say we are given 6, no, not 16, we'll do 64, no, 64, no, I'll say 27 over 64, so 27/64 to the power of 2/3, or to the minus 2/3, okay? So to work this out, I'm going to have 1 over, because of the minus, 27 over 64 to the power of 2/3. Now, that's going to be 1 over the cube root of 27 over 64, all squared. Now, when I have the cube root of a fraction, we just cube root the top, and we cube root the bottom. So I've got 1 over the cube root of 27 over the cube root of 64 all squared. So I'm just simplifying the bottom down. The cube root of 27 is 3. Cube root of 64 is 4. So I have 1 over 3/4 squared. And I'm just going to try and go over to another page. So just remembering, here we go. So I have 1 over 3/4 all squared. Now 3/4 squared is just going to be 3 over 4 times 3 over 4, which is just going to be 9/16. 3 times 3, 4 times 4. But 1 over 9/16 is going to be 1 divided by 9/16, which is 1 over 1 times 16 over 9, which is 16/9, which we could say is going to be 1 and 5/9. Not 1 and 5/9, sorry, 1 and 7/9. So here's one for you to try. Can you please try, I'll say is, I will say 16, no, we'll do 64, no, we won't do that either. We'll do, sorry, 36 over 81, no, because mine goes into that. We'll do 64 over 81 to the power of minus 3 over 2. No, we'll do 64. Sorry about this. I just want to make sure it's sensible. So we'll have 25 over 81. No, 25 over 64. That's fine. So we want to do 25 over 64 to minus 3 over 2. So the question is just to simplify fully. So pause the video now, have a go, and then when you're ready for the answer, press play. Okay, so this is what we would do. We're going to have the minus power, meaning 1 over. So I've got 1 over 25 over 64 to the 3 over 2, which is going to be 1 over the square root of 25 over 64, all cubed, which is 1 over root 25 over root 64, all cubed, which is 1 over 5 over root 64 is 8, all cubed, which is going to be 1 over 5 cubed over 8 cubed, because when I cube a fraction, I cube the top and I cube the bottom, which is 1 over 125, 8 cubed, in my mind, that is 512, 64. For some reason, I think that is 8 cubed. I think that is 512. Let me check. I should know that. I'm sure it's 512. Yeah, 512. So I've got 1 over 125 over 512, which is 1, which is 1 over 1, divided by 125 over 512. We're dividing a fraction by a fraction. We keep, change, and flip. So I have 512 over 125, which I suppose we could have that as a mixed number. So 125, 250, 375, 475, 525. No, sorry, 375, 475, 500. So that's going to go 4 times with the remainder 12. So it's 4 and 12, 125ths. Let me check that. I'm pretty sure that's right. 4.096, 12. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so that's what we should have there.